Hi, and welcome everyone to VentureDeck's podcast here in the studio today with Adam Rosenkilde from Health Group. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Today we will be diving into health checks, corporate health checks, and we will be taking as wide view on this topic as possible within the 30 minutes we have available. But before we get started, we're always curious to hear where everyone is listening in from. So please, down in the comments below, please share with us what country, what city you're listening in from. It's always so exciting to see how many new countries that we are reaching with our podcast. And Adam also would like to feel as an international superstar. so do give him that credit. But let's get right into it. And before we dive into the topic, maybe just, and if you could give our viewers a short introduction to you and what is Health Group.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, my name is Adam. I'm CEO of Health Group. I'm originally educated as a physical therapist. I've been so since 2013, and I started working right after in Health Group, which is a highly specified consultancy agency that focuses on health solutions and health strategies. Usually we make the strategy first, and if the company is interested, then we'll execute with a solution afterwards. And basically it could be everything from just like small economic reviews, settings, could also be a larger solution, for instance, with having physical therapy in-house, massage in-house. We conduct workplace assessments, and of course health checks, the main topic for today. And let's see, we do in-house fitness centers and so on as well. So basically everything that has to do with physical health in-house in smaller and larger companies. So basically we have companies varies from 10 employees to the largest being around 100,000 employees. So that's the scope. In between there, we can handle it.
Yeah. So you are being very modest, Adam. You are not saying it, so I will. You are the biggest company of this type in Denmark.
We're definitely the biggest company in regards to conducting health checks. We conduct around 20,000 health checks a year. And of course, that also means conducting 20,000 measurements with the Seismofit as well.
And we are very happy for that.
Yeah.
But also for you taking part here on this conversation here, because of all the many people who have signed up and who will be watching this video also later on. It's a topic of great interest because, as we also wrote in the text inviting to this podcast, is that we talk about that our employees are our most important asset. So how do we take care of them? And what does that mean both on an organizational level, but also on an employee level? And how about this person who coordinates all of this inside their companies? And I know all three levels are something that you are at Health Group very good at organizing and really specifying.
Yeah, but just before going into exactly that topic, I think you said something very important. Actually, that it's rising, that people are putting more attention into this. And a funny story is that actually, like 8 years ago, we looked at the health checks and we thought maybe we should close this business unit because it didn't thrive at all. But then, the market changed. We see the economy rising and people got more interested into it, and investing in health is always a good idea. So it's best, definitely something that we see today is really going fast forward.
Also the time we live in is very sedentary, right? Like everybody is sitting still at work. They're sitting still on the couch. They're Not mod exercise in and around the house, except if people have a garden, of course. Then gardening is always good for motion. But it is in this society we're living in. There is not a lot of movement naturally.
No. And the majority, it looks like you say with the inactivity and so on. We also see that a percentage is actually overactive, and yeah, we see also the problems with that, but that's a minor group. Basically, it's the majority that's inactive. So, and if we look at that in the perspective of health checks, then looking from the company side, like the main corporate part of it, it's definitely interesting to look at data, health data in general. Facebook taught us 20 years ago that data has a certain amount of power, and of course it's the same here. Even though all data here is aggregated and it's anonymized, it still holds a lot of power. So for instance, if you're from the corporate side looking like an overview of the company and you're conducting health checks, it's interesting to look at exactly the absence leave and see, okay, so if we have a high absence leave compared to our competitors, then what could be the reason for that in regards to health, and it could be something like having a low VO2 max. It could be having high blood pressure. It could be, we also look at the cholesterol, take blood from the finger and look at the cholesterol. Could have a lot to do with that as well. So from the company perspective, it's interesting to look at the data and look at if we have high absence leave, or we just want to improve in general, have higher productivity, then what could we do to better the health in the company? If you see that it's mainly inactivity, then it would be interesting to look more in how can we put in more activity during the day, exercise, walk and talks and so on. But you need to have the knowledge prior to that, and that's what the health check does.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's where many companies start to think about health, because this is impacting top line, bottom line, because it's just the business of business is business. So
Yeah.
if we can make money from it, if it can save us costs, well, then it's worthwhile to invest in such a health check, and that's a logical, reasonable point of departure for this conversation.
Yeah.
But what also seems to be perhaps more important is the person, the individual,
Exactly.
whose health is either low or better.
Yeah. So if you look at from the person itself, that maybe they're looking at, why should I do this? You should definitely do it at least once a year to make sure that all your parameters are looking into the right group. We are dividing them into the green, yellow, and red solution, where of course the green being the acceptable one, the yellow being in between, and the red one, we will advise you to seek out your general practitioner.
Yeah.
So they should look at this for getting better knowledge on understanding of your general health, and also the parameters individually, to make sure that you are in the right solution.
Yeah, and just before we logged on here, you also shared with me the different percentages of people who you identify when you do these health checks. I don't know if that's something you can share here on air.
So regular health checks, we see that we have to advise 8% of all health checks to a general practitioner. But we also have in Denmark called the mandatory health checks for night shift workers. And of course, being a night shift worker will increase your risks. So we tend to see that it varies between 20 to 25% of the health checks conducted that we actually have to send to their own practitioner. So, I mean, for the company, that's bad, because they actually loses their employee, but of course it's more bad for the employee that could be in high risk of losing their life. So yeah, it's very important that they actually seek out.
That is a significant difference, 8 and 20 to 25%.
It is.
But that also goes a long way to explain the importance of this health check, because those 8% of all health checks that you conduct ends with the conclusion you should see your GP. And for them, for that individual who you advise to do so, that could mean a lot for their future health.
Definitely. We sometimes receive feedback as well, writing on email or something like that. That it was actually we saved their lives for being for making that health check. But we also have something in Denmark we call beredskab. It's a hotline that during the health check we actually encourage people to be contacted between 2 to 8 weeks after. Where we have a consultant calling them, asking them if they actually met their GP, if they have changed their habits, perhaps they're exercising more, eating differently, and so something like that, just to encourage them to actually be aware of the health. Because it's not always something that, even though we told them, that they're actually going to act on it.
At the end of the day, it is the individual, him or herself,
Exactly.
who is to act on the insight that you provide them from these. What data points do you collect in a standard health check?
Well, we collect all data in regards to, for instance, the VO2 max test. We get the cholesterol divided into the HDL, the LDL, the triglyceride, and the total cholesterol. I don't recall if I said that. Blood pressure, I don't recall all of them. We have 15 different measurements that we put into our system. And for the health check for night shift workers, we actually have to keep this data for 40 years in Denmark.
40
years. It's mandatory to keep the data. We believe it's because of the situation where people have put asbestos in buildings, and we tend to see that had a difficult negative impact on people's health. So I think it's a conclusion in the legislation that we need to keep this data as well, because we do still not know exactly what is going to happen with people having night shift work in the future. So we have to keep this data. So we still have data that we need to keep for like 30 years still. It's in a server, but yeah, we need to keep it.
That's a good thing, and good. But data is also important, right? Because everybody is, especially in this day and age with AI and computerizing everything. Everything is digitalized nowadays, which also gives us a lot better foundation to act upon data, to take data-based decisions.
Definitely.
What feedback do you get from your customers out there?
Oh, but we get that this is the most important thing for them, because we can look from it from a perspective saying, okay, so we just need to check this part off, but it's more like we need this data to actually act. So when we started doing health checks in Health Group, we used this as a preventive. We used health check as a preventive measurement, but we tend to see that it's actually equal important to have the data and to be able to act on it later. So that's why I tried to say to you that we start with building the strategy and then afterwards the solution, right? Because we need the data for making the strategy, and then we conduct the solution afterwards. So basically, if you start with making a workplace assessment and then having health checks, then you have both the self-awareness data from the workplace assessment, and you have the physical data from the health checks. Then you can start to construct a new strategy for this company. And from there, it can go many different ways. You know, there are not two equal. Each company is looking the same. So, yeah, it's all strategies are different.
And then coming into the, so now we're narrowing in on the more operational side of corporate health checks. So two things springs to my mind in this conversation is, so what do you see? What do you see in terms of corporate performance, and is there a correlation to the overall corporate health from this anonymized aggregated data, and how does that also elevate the importance of this coordinator project manager's role inside a company who leads
exactly what do you mean with the first question, because could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, so it's just, I could imagine that a company which see that their health is increasing year on year when you come back, that they also see some business metrics improving.
Yeah, but it's always difficult to say if that is directly from the general health, or it's could be many things. But what we can say is that no one has never seen a worse health would mean a better health would mean less production. That's not how we see it. We always see it the other way around. But to actually say that Act A will turn into Solution B is difficult to say. But yeah.
We have a few questions coming in on the chat. We will get to those in just a second.
Good questions, yeah.
I think GDPR is something a lot of people are concerned about, especially around health data. Perhaps the way you work when you work with an organization, it's often you have a central contact person inside an organization who is responsible for this. Like, how do you add to this person's role, or how do you work with them in order to actually realizing that they go from not having a health check perhaps to actually having a health check?
Yeah, that's the key role. That's, you pinpointed the exact key point here, Peter, because what we need to have here for actually being a success is a contact person who's willing to help. Usually they are willing to help because it's their colleagues, you know, and adding value through health is a good thing here. So of course they are looking into having as many health checks and as many people attending health checks as possible. So in that way we're working, we're aligned and working the same way. But we also we see projects where it's difficult because we either have a contact person who's not involved, engaging, but or perhaps are leaving the company while we are doing it. So that could be a problem as well. But they have a key role here, of course they do. And the better we cooperate with these guys, the better, the more data we get, and the better we can help them. So they have a big role in this. Also because they need this for their ESG reports as well. You know, health checks can be big on the social part. So it's a key point. It is.
And I think it must be an amazing job to have, to be the one inside a company, like actively advocating for my colleague to have better health.
Exactly. It's usually the contact person is usually from HR, and it's usually something they would fight for, getting the role as a contact person, because who wouldn't? I mean, would you have that, or would you have the parking spots? You know what? So it's usually health checks is a good thing to have.
Yeah. No, and then of course the big buzzword that you just opened up before, ESG, right? I mean, everybody is almost has this in their annual report, that they are reporting on all of this, and I can imagine a health check is a component of such an ESG initiative.
It is. It's very big on this. it's a good way to build up your ESG for the future. Definitely, we suggest that people either have it once a year or once every 2 years. Once every 3 years or more will not give you the results that you need.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend doing it once a year, and try to do it at least in the same period of the year, because people tend to change themselves over the year. So don't try and do it in December one year and then
when
in
the
January
weight goes
next
up in
year.
December.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't know, for some reason people are afraid of the summer holiday, but we've actually had 2 companies having quite success with starting in June, having of course toning it down a bit over the summer, but still having 2 rooms available for health checks, and then turning it up again after the summer. It has something to it. It works.
You say 2 rooms now. Okay, now we get very operational, and now we're going off script here. But I'm just curious. It's just my question here. Like, how many? When you have 2 rooms, how many health check can you do in one day? Like, how fast can we process a company?
Well, it depends if you're having a regular health check, if you're having a mini health check, or you could have the extended health check for night shift workers. But somewhere between 9 to 12 health checks a day. So let's say roughly 10 health checks a day for one consultant in one room, which means that if you have, you can times that by 4 if you have 4 rooms, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, but 10 health checks a day, then there in your company how many days and how many consultant days you need to allocate if you want to execute this. For example, before the summer holiday, then just work your way backwards from when most employees are scheduled to go on holidays.
Yeah, and it's also what people a good information for them to have before is that don't expect more than 50 to 60% in attendance rate. That would be the normal. If you have blue collar workers, it's a little bit less. If you have only white collars, it could be up to 60%. We have seen, of course, some companies where they almost made it mandatory, and we had like 80 to 90%. But in general, if you have between 50 to 60% in attendance, that's a good rate.
Yeah.
So also because you have to budget with this, right? So if you have a company of 1,000 people, then you should only expect 500 to 600 people to attend.
That's for finance out there. And, know what to go for. There also seems to be some companies where they offer the health check for the executive level, but leave out the rest of the employees.
That might be a solution for other companies or other countries than Denmark, because in Denmark the tax rules say that you have to offer this to everyone, except for health checks for night shift workers. That's only mandatory for them. So, but if you're from the States or another country in Europe, you can do it like that. You can also have extended checks for them. We can definitely put on a lot of different measurements if that's interesting for this specific company. Could be working with porcelain, then it would be nice to have a respiratory test as well. We can add that. We can add the hemoglobin, the blood percentage as well, and so on. We have 10 or something different tests that we can put on. Of course, that will also increase the duration of the health check, which means that we would only be able to have like 8 or 9 checks a day per consultant.
Yeah. So you have the standard package, and then you can add to that. Similar to when you buy a car, you get the car, and then you can get all the leather seats and the heating and the massage seats.
And we always say here, go for the same health check for the entire company, because if you want to look at data and you want to compare your production site with your white collars, then you need to have the same measurements. So please bear that in mind when you plan your health checks.
That's a good tip. Let's just take this one question. Do you face GDPR issues conflicting with this 40-year requirement?
Well, we face it prior to obtaining the data. Yes, definitely. Well, it's of course it's mandatory, so we are letting people know prior to actually obtaining the data or having the health check that we need to do this. We need to keep it for 40 years. That's something they have to sign up prior to having this health check. Afterwards, it's out of our hands. It's legislation. We cannot delete the data again. So that's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But people would know this prior to that. Otherwise, for general health checks, we'll have the data somewhere between 3 to 5 years. That's also stated in the disclaimer. And after that, we erase all the data and we only keep aggregated, anonymized data for the benchmark, saying that if you're a company in pharma tech, then we can compare you to all other companies in pharma tech from the last 20 years. So that's why it's interesting to keep the data, so you can compare yourself up against a benchmark.
Yeah, and that's a benefit that comes from being your size. You have as a company, and this number of health checks. When you aggregate all health groups' health checks historically, how many would you guess?
20 years, somewhere between 250,000 and 500,000 checks, I guess. Yeah.
It's a pretty significant database.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Across industries,
every industry.
I mean, you have companies, you have clients across all different industries, or how is that?
All different industries, yeah.
Yeah.
So of course the night shift workers, they are mandatory, so that's some part of it, but yeah, I don't see that's okay, so it's only this industry conducting health checks. No, it's everyone.
Yeah. So when we look at the Danish index of the largest 25 companies, you have almost 20 out of 25 or something.
Well, we have a little less than that, but 75%.
Yeah,
roughly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only on health checks. Some of them we have on other stuff, but yeah. And it's just important to say that this is not just for larger companies, corporations, and stuff like that. I mean, we conduct a lot of health checks on companies that have perhaps 20 employees, just so you can have 10 actual health checks. That's normal. We see that a lot. Yeah.
Important. There's one more question here.
Yeah.
Are you able to validate the health check influence on health or work environment related to absence? It's well, I think the question is more into work environment and absence. Do you see some link between those two?
We see a link, but it's as it's been asked here. No, we cannot directly validate that the health check will change
it's more the environment and the absence. Like if it's a bad environment, there's also higher absence.
No, I wouldn't have data that would support that. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But
it would have been.
It's a thought that's not far from our mind, right? Meaning that we see that if we have a healthy environment, that we could also see that we have a less absence. But I cannot link them directly to each other. No.
No, it's okay. This is also where where does this lie in between health group, which is a supplier to the contact person in HR, where you deliver the quantitative health data on blood pressure, cholesterol, VO2 max, so on. But so the qualitative data with the interviews and the chair.
We have actually a questionnaire where we gather qualitative data as well, but it's difficult to present to the company as something they should act on. It's actually more used for the employee. So let's say they fill out a questionnaire prior to the health check, then the consultant would look at this questionnaire prior to the health check, prepare and say, okay, so if this is a male 56 smoker inactive, and so on, then they would know exactly how to approach the data afterwards.
Yeah.
So the qualitative data is more for that. The quantitative is of course aggregated and put into a report and a presentation as well.
Thank you, Adam. Our time is up. Is there a last word you just want to share before we sign off?
Well, my advice would be to take care of yourself before you take care of others, right?
As they say on the aircraft.
Exactly. Put your mask on. So start with yourself, and then the good habits will spread.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone,
all.
for joining us. And yes, this video will be available here and across our other channels. So do keep a lookout and share it with your friends and coworkers. Thanks for watching.